Yeah.
I agree.
Because I want to say, and this again, this is not a bearing on the conversation then. This is again bringing what she just said forward, right? She said, even if you can't provide provision, there are other things that you can bring to the table as a man. Why are you depriving my family of a man? Who's going to teach my son how to pee? She's going into all these other things that men bring to the table. And this is where I'm saying again, in today's day and age, those things have no value.
What's going on, family? I'm just here to remind you that you can get yourself a copy of my new book, On the Shoulders of Giants, Volume 4 of the Caribbean, by visiting my website, www.ontheshoulders1.com, and help support me as I continue on my mission to make sure that my people have our information, even though, there are many people trying to stop us from learning our history. But hey, we can teach ourselves. And one of the tools we can use is my new book, On the Shoulders of Giants, Volume 4, The Caribbean. Remember, visit my website, www.ontheshoulders1.com, to get your copy. And I appreciate your support.
Uh, what's up, YouTube? What's up, family? Welcome back to On the Shoulders of Giants. You already know what it is. You see me, you see Patrick. So that means that it's Breakdown Friday going down. How y'all doing, man? We love y'all. Thank you. First, I want to say thank you to everybody for the continued support of On the Shoulders of Giants. We are continuously growing. So that's all because of you all and all the support that you're giving me. So thank you, thank you, thank you to all of the long-term subscribers and the new subscribers. I also want to say thank you to all of the love and support and the views for the newest videos that I'm dropping out as I'm breaking down books, as I'm actually, excuse me, as I'm reviewing, we're reading and reviewing books, and we started with The Chasm. So I ain't gonna make you do it today, Patrick, because since we've reviewing your book and reading your book, you ain't got to do that today. But if you want to learn more about Patrick's book and support that video, make sure that you click the little link that you see up in one of these corners up here, and then that's going to be at the end, and this is going to be a link in the description box. And so please, 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 please go view and support. Please view and support those videos the same way you will view and support the lectures, because we have to keep the information going. And remember, this is not saying that we are greater than anybody, but we got to further the information, and I have to build my own thing too. So please support those videos as the same way, with the same love and respect and the same energy that you supported the lecture. So let's keep this energy and this momentum going, because we got to get to 100,000. We got to get to 100K. And with that, we can do more in the community. It's about the support. It's about the resources that I can get to do more in my community and other communities as well. Remember, you can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/OTSOG. What's going on, Pat, before we jump in? What's going on, man?
Not much, man.
Yeah.
Like that.
Bruh, you said a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so today we're breaking down an interesting and iconic conversation between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin that happened in 1973, as they're talking about the dynamics between the black man and black women and what's going on with them at that time. And of course, you know how we do. We got to make it relevant to what's going on today. So we're going to let the video play, and we're going to break it down as we go. So let's do this.
It's changed in the last, since Martin Luther King, since 54. I think the only thing that's really changed is the black woman. And what she
No, I
said.
don't think she's changed. I think she's become more visible.
I think she's changed. Because there was a time, let's say my mother, my aunts and things like that, they would say, okay, if that's the way you establish your manhood, I'm going to go for it. And my generation says, hey, no good.
Okay.
You must establish a new base.
I'll agree with that.
And we are, as a group, demanding that a new base be established.
Yeah, but be careful as a woman what you demand of a man.
I demand that he be a man.
Yeah, but you can't
because
say,
the provision part.
Yeah, but you can't say you demand it. You have to suggest it.
That's your ego that says that. No, I demand it. Now you deal with that.
All right.
So let's stop it right there. Let's stop it right there. Hold on. What's this? 47 seconds. Let me run it back to that part. Just to make sure we got it. Just run it back.
I think that the only thing that's changed in the last since Martin Luther King, since 54. I think the only thing that's really changed is the black woman. And what she
No, I
said
don't think
is
she's changed. I think she's become more visible.
So I should have stopped her right there the first time, but
Mhm.
just dealing with that part. She's saying in 1973, she's saying the black woman has changed. James Baldwin is saying he believes that the black woman has become more visible.
Mhm.
From my understanding and my research and information that I have, especially at that time, it seems like both the things that they are saying are true. Like there has been a change. The black woman has had a change, but the black woman has also during that time become a lot more visible. So in my opinion, I think they both have truthful points in that piece. What about you?
No, I agree. The only thing that, like I said, I would push back on is the same as what she pushed back on, because he said, I don't think she's changed. She's just become more visible.
Right.
I would disagree and agree with Nikki Giovanni. She has changed,
Right. She has changed
but
and she's
she has
become more visible.
also become more visible.
Right.
So I agree
Right.
with you. Yeah.
Right. And so now let's get into the change.
I think she's changed because there was a time, let's say my mother, my aunts and things like that, they would say, okay, if that's the way you establish your manhood, I'm going to go for it. And my generation says, hey, no good.
Okay.
You must
Okay.
establish
I'll
a
agree
new
with-
base.
I'll agree with that.
And we are, as a group,
I'll agree.
demanding that a new base be established.
Yeah, but be careful as a woman what you demand of a man.
I demand that he be a man.
But you can't
Because
say, you,
the
but you can't-
provision part.
Yeah, but you can't say you demand it. You have to suggest it.
Well, that's your ego that says that. No, I demand it. Now you deal with that.
All right. Okay.
So listening to that part, it's making me think about today.
Mhm.
In October of 2022, it's making me think of today as a difference, and it may be, and I may not be all the way correct, but it seems like a different type of demand is happening today from the women, because she's saying she's demanding manhood, and as we go further, she's going to be talking about provisions and being able to take care of the family.
Mhm.
And so it seems, from what we have from this clip, it seems like the demand is authentic manhood, or a type of manhood that can take care of the household,
Right.
that can have some structure, and within this structure we can at least survive. But
Right.
bring it to today, and it's not that demand. It's not the demand for the essentials in life. It's the demand for the luxuries in life. And manhood is attached to your ability to provide the luxuries and the ease of life. And this is not, and I'm not speaking in absolutes. I'm not saying this is 100% of some women, but when she's saying that, it just made me think about some of the demands that I hear, or the more the demands that we hear more often. The people who are the loudest with their demands are demanding the luxuries of life and the ease of life rather than the essentials of life. That's what that made me think about when especially making it relevant to today.
Yeah, I agree with that. The demands, what a man is, has shifted over
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Now a man is still responsible for provision,
Right.
but the things he's provisioning or providing have shifted. And the increase in a woman's earning potential has also shifted the value of essential provisions.
Right.
So I get where she's saying we're going to demand that you be a man. And then from the standpoint of modern women, I get also the same thing of saying, well, this is what I feel like I need, so I'm going to demand it of my mate. And if you can't provide it, then I'm just not going to, you're not going to be my mate.
Yeah.
But I get what James Baldwin is saying as well. Be careful of what you demand of a man.
Right.
Now, I think she went in the direction that a lot of modern women go nowadays. When a man tells a woman, be careful of what you demand, or be careful of what you speak or how you speak about a man, one of the first places they go is, well, that's your ego.
Right.
That's, that's your own
Right.
self-esteem or challenges or whatever. And so I would take it a step further. Sure, James Baldwin might have been talking about ego, but also built in that is, if you make demands of somebody, then they now have the ability to make demands of you. If
Right.
you choose to want to go down this road, then I have options and I have things that I can do that might not necessarily be beneficial for you in the long run.
But also the ego shot is not always the best way to get a resolution, a proper resolution, not just any resolution, but
Right.
a proper resolution. Because um saying that, okay, it's your ego that doesn't um accept the demand. And it's like, well, not necessarily my ego. It's more so of, do we still have the same level of respect that we used to have for each other?
Right.
That's what I'm getting from it. It's not like, it's not, he's not saying, well, you demanding from me, it's a shot to my ego. Because in my opinion, for me, I as an individual don't have a problem with her, what she's saying as far as the actual demand, because the way I'm wired as a man, I'm supposed to program this stuff. I'm supposed to provide this stuff, excuse me. I'm gonna be the provider anyway.
Right.
And I know what my fathers and my OGs have taught me about being a man. So her demand, Nikki Giovanni's demand, I don't have any issues with, because it's about the essentials in life. I don't pay attention to the outrageous demands. I just, why? But but it's like, it's still back down to the ego versus respect thing. And the respect thing is, for one, is you don't have to demand the essentials, especially from a com a capable person. Because some of the thoughts that's in my mind is, okay, well, who is this person that you chose to be with? And why is it such a task to be able to get at least the essentials in life? And bringing it to today is where we have a lot of people on both sides, men and women, who choose people for particular reasons, and not for, they don't, we're not choosing who we need, we're choosing who we want. And because we're choosing who we want, we're getting undesirable results.
Well, and see what I was saying was essentially transporting her making the statements about demands into today's day and age. Because again, like you, I don't have a problem with a woman demanding the basics.
Right, the essentials.
Um, but when I'm saying what James Baldwin could also be saying is, be careful of what you demand, because then there will be demands put on you. Then there might be the reciprocation
Yeah.
might not be what you want it to be. That's fast forwarding it to modern times, because as we said earlier, the demands have shifted.
Drastically.
Nowadays you have women demanding $100,000 a year from men in their early to mid 20s. Um,
The
and they're
exchange.
and they're demanding so much more from older men. Now you have women making demands that you will take me on a week-long trip after we've only been dating for 3 weeks.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the demands have shifted. So now those demands have shifted. The men that are able to meet those demands now have demands of their own.
Yes. Yeah.
But are you willing to meet their demands?
Right. But it also, though, I think a lot of women today forget that those men, those specific men, that small amount of men in those positions have always had demands. Those men who were able to meet those criteria to be wealthy like that have always had those demands and have always had their demands met.
But that goes into the perspective, right? Like this viewpoint that there are an abundance of these people, and that's something that is spoken of from a certain reference point quite a bit in this conversation from Nikki Giovanni, this view of abundance, you know, when,
Right.
like, you know, when he's talking about later on in the clip having to work, I have to smile to pay the rent, and she's saying the rent will get paid.
I
You
know
know,
it won't.
if you don't do these, so there's that mindset that things will always be taken care of.
Right. And well, and it goes like we were saying earlier, or we was talking before, the difference in the mindset between men and women. Yeah, to be taken care of if we take care of it.
Right. And that, so again, I'll say it right up front. I'm probably going to say it again. That's one of the things I love about this conversation is that it shows the difference in the perspectives and the
Mm-hmm.
thinking of men and women.
Yep.
She's speaking very much from a place of this is what I want, this is what I feel like will happen, and if you just take care of me, everything else will be taken care of.
Right.
And he's speaking from the standpoint of, you know, no, it has to make sense, as he says a few times.
Yeah.
We got to move in a way that is rational. Like, I respect what you're saying, I understand it, but that's not the way the
Yeah.
world works for me.
Right. Right. Because it doesn't work like that for men. Right. So all right, let's move forward.
I
I'll even go with
demand that you be a man, and I don't think that that's asking too much. Because if I wanted a provision, you know, I would get a camper. You know what I mean? I would get a camper that provides things. You know what I mean? You get an army surplus kit that provides things. I need a man, and black men have always been offered to provisions. People are either going to eat or starve to death. You know, the men of beyond, the people were starving to death, they were still the men. Had to be that way. Through that horrendous kind of war, but it had to be that way because sometimes you're not able to feed your family. Sometimes you're not able to clothe your family. Do you then also deprive them of your manhood and of the input that a man has? Who teaches my son how to pee?
Yeah, but
you see?
Yeah, but you're talking.
Stop right there.
I agree.
Because I want to say, and this again, this is not a bearing on the conversation then. This is again bringing what she just said forward, right? She said, even if you can't provide provision, there are other things that you can bring to the table as a man. Why are you depriving my family of a man? Who's going to teach my son how to pee? She's going into all these other things that men bring to the table. And this is where I'm saying again, in today's day and age, those things have no value.
Yeah, that's not the demand. That's not the modern demand. That's not right. And like you say, nowadays we've literally degenerated to where we're seeing each other's as commerce and sex. Who got the best sex? Who got the most money? Who can give me this thrill of being grander than I am, or being rich, or being wealthy, or being a celebrity, or famous, or whatever? Who can give me that feeling, that rush? And if you can't give me that feeling, that rush, then you're not a man. See, that's totally different from what they're talking about.
Right. Because nowadays it doesn't matter. You could be the best father in the world and the best husband in the world.
Yeah.
If you're unemployed and broke, there's a large segment of society that's going to devalue everything else you bring to the table as a man.
Right. Well, that's one thing I like about the conversation is we're at a time where I don't think she represent the mindset of a lot of women in that time either. She's different because, you know, she's around a group of people who think, move, talk, walk different. So she's different, but she represents a mindset of I at least get that we need each other to make this home happen. We need each other to survive. We need each other to be able to start to thrive. Just basic, we need each other. We need to be together. We need to be and at a competent level to provide for our family, rather than, because like you say nowadays we can have a guy who has all the qualities he needs to be a great husband, a great father, but let's just say he earns $25,000, he earned $30,000, and that's just how much he gonna earn for a while until he can up his skill sets. He not gonna get that same respect. He not gonna get that same respect unless he finds a woman who is on the same page as him. And good luck with that.
Right. I was gonna say, and that's always the case. The challenge is it's a lot easier. The because the demands are where they are, it's so much easier to find somebody on your wavelength when your wavelength includes a sizable income.
Yes.
So the type of manhood, and this is, I bring this up because every so often this clip resurfaces and there's this grand discussion around it, and everybody talks about how wonderful the points she's making are, and I agree they are, but nobody's referencing modern what's happening now.
Right.
And they're making a lot of them are making the connection that the type of man that she's describing and demanding is the same type of man that is being described and demanded by the majority of women today,
and
and
that's
that's
not
not the
true.
case.
That's they're not really listening to what she's asking for. They're not listening to that, because once again, like we said earlier, the modern demands are not the essentials. The modern demands are the luxuries. Now, once again, that's not 100% of the women. There are women who are demanding the essentials, but for the most part, the louder ones, the most prominent message and the most prominent voices that we are hearing is luxuries, 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 luxuries. And forget the essentials, forget the building blocks that it takes to build our community. Forget that. I want to go past that. Like, I'm watching a video earlier. And the lady had a long, ridiculous list of things that she wanted. If you was under the age of 30, you need to be over 6 feet. If you were over the age of 30, if you're under the age of 40, you need to be over 6 feet. If you were over the age of 40, you could be at least 5'9". But you had to make at least $300,000, and you had to have a beard. You had to be a ninja. You had to be able to, blow out candles with just by closing your eyes. Like, she had a real ridiculous list. And the lady, the host that she was on the show with, called her out. And it was two women. She called her out for the ridiculousness of the list, because the list did not, and we've heard these over and over and over from the countless shows that we see, and it was the same thing. This superficial list, nothing about it is realistic. Nothing about it goes back to the basic building blocks of what it takes for a community, a nation of people to just exist, period. So it's like, for me, we got to stop talking about what we want to do, or the ideals and stuff, and really be honest with ourselves about where we are and where we've degenerated, and make sure that we are working to fix these things. Because we can talk about these ideas and things the way we want to be, but if we're not actually putting in the actual work to make it happen, we fooling ourselves. It's not going to happen, and we won't have. You can't build anything on a messed up foundation. We keep saying that. You can't.
And I think one of the other things, I want to take it back for a second, is, and I understand a lot of women nowadays, with, like I said, with the increased earning power of women, they feel like, I can provide my own essentials, so I don't need you to do that. I need you to do all of the other stuff.
Yeah.
And I get that. So I'm not being ignorant to that fact. That's why I pointed out, well, the man that Giovanni is talking about is not based on earning. It's based on you bringing manhood and those experiences and that knowledge and that information and all those intangibles of what it means to be a man, bringing that to the table, not necessarily devaluing it, because you can't afford to feed your family or keep a
Right.
roof over their head.
Right.
But the
Right.
other aspect to that is James Baldwin said you have to suggest it. And I think one of the things going on here is this goes into my fundamental belief that women do have a say. And I disagree with a lot of men. I think women have a say in what it means to be a man, because as a community, a man is supposed to protect his community and be what's needed for that community within the realm of a masculine sphere. And women have to do the same within the realm of a feminine sphere. So just as much as women have a say in what manhood is and defining that, men have a say in what womanhood is, what femininity is, and defining that. And when you get into these conversations where you're trying to figure out culturally, how are we going to define what is a man and what is a woman? Demands don't work in that conversation.
Right.
Suggestions work. Well, I need this, so let's look at doing it this way. And I know I'm simplifying the conversation, but I'm doing that for a reason too. But whenever you're in a situation where you're trying to come to a compromise or you're trying to develop a way of thinking or a definition for something, and there's a group of people involved, the people making the demands usually are the ones that people stop listening to first, because they're usually so rigid they start to impede progress.
And usually the people who are making the loudest demands are usually not the people in the positions of power either.
Right, and that's the other thing, right? The position of power dynamic is another angle I was going to bring up. I was in the military. I got a chance to interact with a lot of high-ranking officers. They didn't make a lot of demands. They didn't have to. The culture was established. If I ask you a question a certain way, if I make a certain suggestion, because of the power and the authority that I have, you understand what needs to happen.
Right.
But they didn't go about making demands because they understood the culture that they were trying to establish and maintain, a culture of respect, something you got to earlier. So I just think there's a lot in that piece about not making demands, make suggestions, and that whole, there's a lot in that. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
But just last thing before we go. But when you get to the point to where you're making, well, you have one side making demands to the other, and they didn't make demands like that in the past, that means there's been a breakdown in the dynamic between these two people.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move forward now.
With you, I see that very well. But it's one thing to be in a situation where you see that you have, where you see a future, however bloody, and to be in a situation where you see no future at all.
But you are. It is incumbent.
If I know,
it is incumbent
if
that
I know
we see a future.
If I know what I'm demanding of you, in some sense, makes sense. If I know the fact the kid is not eating today or tonight or tomorrow, in some way makes sense. Yeah, then I can be there. But if it doesn't make any sense, and if I don't see anything coming out of it at all,
will he eat if you're not there?
If you're on welfare, he won't eat if I am there. That's the law. But I don't want to get bogged down into that. What I really mean is that yes, a man can do that if he sees a way, if he sees that it means something. My father couldn't see that, and he was quite right, because he didn't. Well, there wasn't anything.
There's something, because all I know that works in the world is a relationship.
Yes, all right.
Okay, that's all that's going to work. It takes two people to have a relationship.
Yeah, but the relationship.
If you don't have a dream, fake it.
But the relationship, you can't fake a dream.
You got to fake it.
So I want to run that back real quick. When he was trying to articulate, right, a man has to see a benefit, a purpose for whatever he's doing in order for him to continue to do it. There has to be a meaning there. If he doesn't see a benefit or a purpose or a meaning where it's helping or anything like that,
He's not gonna want to do it.
He's not going to do it. And I think that's one of the fundamental, like that's another one of those fundamental differences between the way men and women see the world that has kind of been lost or devalued nowadays, because in a lot of senses it's been attacked as toxic masculinity or as all of these other things. Not that I have anything against that phrase, but I'm just saying that phrase has become kind of a broad umbrella term for devaluing the way men think and process the world.
Right.
So um from her perspective, again, it's this abundance mindset of, well, but I'm not going to be in a better position if you're not there. And I get that. She's saying, well, just stick around just to be around because I need you here. But the problem there is, again, it's just a fundamental breakdown in the way men and women see the world, where a woman would be in that situation and say, well, just be here. A man is in that situation saying, for what?
Yeah, but also look at I'm trying to make sure I if I'm a little more quiet in this, I'm just trying to process this stuff, and that's why I'm listening and I'm trying to process it. But I'm thinking about, okay, in 1973 when this conversation is happening, what is preventing the black man from being there? Well, one thing he mentioned was welfare.
Right. He backed off it. And I understand
Right.
why he backed off it, but it is a thing.
But it's a factor though. We can't, and I wish he would have stayed on it, but
I
if the
think you
one
wanted to keep the conversation civil, but go ahead.
but let's just be real. They can't force welfare on a woman. The woman has to choose to be on welfare. So if she chooses to be on welfare, then at that time, and even now, the man can't be there. He can't be there. Now, what other things are preventing the man from being there at that time in 1973? What were some things that was preventing the man to be? Now, I wasn't there in 1973, so I can't give all the nuances and all these things here. But in 2022, let's take this conversation in 2022. What's preventing the man from being there in 2022? First of all, let's get rid of some misconceptions. Actually, the black man is actually the most involved father out of all the races and ethnicities. According to the CDC, the black man is the most involved father. So the black man is there. The dynamic of being there is different now, because back then being there was the household, the two-parent household. Now the dynamic of being there most likely is the child lives with the mother and they have joint custody or shared custody, however they break it down. There's a small percentage of fathers who are in the home. The fathers are there, but they're not in the home. And so that's that's what I'm thinking about with that dynamic of being there, but also what if the black father isn't there, what's keeping them from being there? Now we know just the generation of relationships. Maybe she doesn't want him there, maybe he doesn't want to be there, maybe infidelity, maybe finances, maybe they just shouldn't have been together, maybe it was just a hookup, maybe they hate each other now. All those factors can go into it, including welfare. All those factors can go into it.
I think largely a lot of the same things that kept men from being there then are what are keeping men from being there now. Largely, I do acknowledge there are some differences, but one of the things we can't overlook is the social climate and the cultural climates that exist within the black community, right? Especially nowadays with the whole I can do bad by myself and the whole, and again, we talk,
I don't need a man thing.
right? We talk about these things, right? And every time you bring them up, you get a group of people that yell down your throat to shut up, or that you're trying to do this or do that. And so we've come into a place now. A lot of people don't realize that men are just as emotional and sensitive as women are. We just display it differently.
Right.
So if we're in a situation where we feel like we are a hindrance, right?
Or we're not needed. Or we're not needed.
Right. Feeling like a hindrance, feeling like I'm not needed, feeling like I don't add any value to a situation, all of those things are the exact same thing as me feeling like I need to leave the situation.
Yeah.
All of those feelings are the same. And so it's not enough for us to simply be in this community and be with women that are saying, no, you need to just stick around, because that doesn't change that feeling that I have, that I am not helping this situation. And so if I'm not helping it, then I am in fact making it worse by continuing to be a part of it.
Right.
Right. And so I think that's the part that we got to deal with. You're dealing with men who can't provide provision, even the
Mm-hmm.
basic essentials in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
situations, but
Mm-hmm.
they understand that if they leave, there's an opportunity for that woman to either get on welfare or to maybe get with a man that can provide provision. So you're dealing with that. Then you're dealing with the social stigmas of a man that can't provide is being less than dirt, less than
Yeah.
this, less than that.
Yeah.
That takes its toll. Then you deal with the cultural provisions on top of, or the cultural the pressures on top of that, of a man that isn't able to do this in the black community. I know a larger number of people that'll call you a fuck boy if you go half and half with your woman on the bill.
Yeah. 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 But still going back to what I like about the conversation is she's asking, or she's demanding essentials. She's focused on essentials. She's focused on the building blocks of what really makes a family happen, rather than what we would mostly be focused on today. Because like going back to what you said earlier, you have a lot of women who are applauding what she's saying, but they're applauding it with modern eyes and with modern understanding, and not really listening to what she's saying and how she's saying it and why she's saying what she's saying. Because once again, it's the essentials versus the luxuries. It's the building blocks of the community versus the degrading of the community. We're demanding things that aren't good for us. That's what we're demanding.
And I wanna finish out with this because I know I've been talking a lot. Um, I understand that in conversations like this, right? Like whenever men are speaking their piece about what's going on, I said it earlier, there tends to be a segment of society and of women that'll come in and say, well, I'm not like this. I don't know any women like this, that, and the third. And that the majority of women aren't like this. And to that, I would say, I disagree. I
Yeah.
spend a lot of time talking to young women, women my age, and women older than me. And yes, there is a clear line of delineation between the older generation women and my generation and
Yeah.
younger women.
Yeah.
And the majority of those women that I talk to that are my age and younger do not think anything like the older women.
Yep.
They think like the women that the men are always complaining about. So
Right.
when you hear these men complain, and it's the same, right? Like Joe, you and I have these conversations all the time where I have to say I don't know any men like that,
Right.
but
That doesn't mean they don't exist. And
right,
that's the disingenuousness that when I said that. That's when women are being disingenuous. All right. That, and because let's just call it what it is. It's being disingenuous, especially when because you're dismissing what we're saying. You're dismissing our evaluation of the things. Because if we're actually going to get to a real resolution, women, y'all got to take y'all lumps too. And that's one thing about this conversation. it it wasn't necessarily a two-way conversation from this clip, or
this
this piece of
clip
the
is
clip.
yeah.
This clip isn't a two-way conversation where both sides are talking about what they need from each other. It's basically Nikki Giovanni saying what women need and women's ideas and thoughts, and James Baldwin kind of being on the defense and being nice as well. He's being nice and being on the defense and making sure he's defending men's. But it's like you're saying, the dynamic is different. This they don't want what Nikki Giovanni's generation wanted. They don't think the same way. It's not. I don't want to keep saying the same thing, but it's It's frivolous stuff. It's frivolousness. And like you said, if we are saying, hey, you guys are doing these things that are not working for us, and then it's dismissed, well, I don't do it, and nobody I know do it, and I don't feel like women do it. But when it come around, you want us to listen to you all about y'all grievances against us, and the qualifier is, well, if you were a man, then you would listen. And it's like, well, no, if we're going to fix this, we got to listen to each other. So yeah, now let's move forward.
Because we don't have dreams these days. How the hell can you have a dream? For what?
Well, it isn't.
So everybody's jiving, but let's jive on that level.
If I love you, I can't lie to you.
Of course you can lie to me, and you will. If you love me and you're going off with Maddie someplace, you're lying to me. Because what the hell do I care about the truth? I care if you're there. But Billie Holiday say, hush now, don't explain.
All right, I accept that.
Of course you'll lie to me, because I don't even want to care. What does the truth matter? And why are you going to be truthful with me when you lie to everybody else? You lied when you smiled at that cracker down the job, right? Lie to me, smile. Treat me the same way you would treat him.
I can't treat you the way I treat him.
You must. Because I've caught the frowns and the anger. He's happy with you. Of course he doesn't know you're unhappy. You grin at him all day long. You come home and I catch hell. Because I love you, I get least of you. I get the very minimum. And I'm saying, fake it with me. Is that too much of the black woman to ask of the black man?
Well, so another thing about this conversation, because it also makes me think about what's going on today, is it's almost as if black men are a monolith, and this one man that she's describing is the representative, like we just got through saying, this is the representative of all black men. It's the representation of, this is the standard black man. And I've met too many black men. I've talked to too many black men. I've been around too many black men. That's not the standard black man. Does that black man exist? Yes. Does that black man wreak havoc? Yes. But also that black man is chosen a lot, mostly by, we constantly hear, I was watching a video earlier today of a woman in one conversation complaining about that bad boy guy, because we know that a lot of them go for the bad boy. So she complaining about the bad boy guy, but also explaining why she has to choose that guy. And I'm not saying that Nikki Giovanni is trying to choose that bad boy guy. But what I am saying is I'm listening to her description, and it's almost as if this is the standard black man. Now, I can't give you the percentage of the population that this man represents, but I know this man doesn't represent black men. And I think that's one of my frustrations when I hear responses like that and things like that describing black men. It's like, well, we can't keep saying black people are not a monolith, and we can't say, well, not all black women are like that, but then put black men in a box and all black men are like this, because you have to make it plain. We're describing a specific type of black man. We're not describing black men.
Well, I think for me, one of the troubling parts about this conversation for me is that although I love the conversation in general, I don't necessarily think that James Baldwin is the person that should be participating in it.
I had that thought as well.
Because a lot of the grievances and challenges that she's bringing forward, they're theoretical for him.
Yeah.
So but when she says the assumption being made is that, and a lot of white women or a lot of women make this assumption that men smile all day at the job, that our bosses are happy with us because we put on a front, right? A lot of men are very passive aggressive at their job,
and women are a lot more agreeable at their jobs.
Right. Well, I wasn't gonna get to that just yet.
Well,
but
hey.
but and I'm only mentioning this because I've heard again, this conversation came around a couple months ago, and I listened to woman after woman after woman talk about how men are, they're the talk of the town and they're loved at their jobs because they put on this face. And it's like, well, being a man that's been in that environment, a lot of men are passive aggressive at their jobs. Everybody's fronting at the job. Your boss
Yeah.
doesn't really like you, and he knows that you don't like him, but the front must continue. When a man comes home, if he gives his woman that same passive aggressive attitude with the fake smile that he gives his boss, that's a
That's not.
problem.
That's a real big problem. I don't want to come home and have the same animosity, the same mindsets and feelings with my woman that I have with my boss. And like she's saying, lie to me like this. And I agree with him. I can't lie to you. I can't give you a false perception of me. We can't build something real if I'm lying to you. If I'm coming fake, if I'm being fictitious, like we can't build anything real. I have to be my authentic self, but at the same time, hopefully this woman has chose a capable man.
Well, I think a lot of the fault with this, especially looking at the modern generation, is that there's been a lot of faking on both sides.
Yep.
But because men tend not to call women out for their faking, women nowadays, and this is again based off what I'm hearing, women nowadays believe that they're good at faking it. They
Right.
believe that men somehow can't tell
Right.
that they're unhappy.
Right.
And that's not true. You fake it just as bad as men fake it. The only difference is women nowadays have been conditioned to speak up, and
Yeah.
men nowadays have not.
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
Well, that's changing, but
There are more consequences for men speaking up than it is for women. And
so
that's
I
one of the
think,
things.
yeah, so I think that goes back to again this difference and
Yeah.
perspectives and views. And it's wonderful that they're having this conversation, even though I don't know that James Baldwin should be the guy having it. But it's also telling that they're having this conversation. And in this clip, because we're going to try to avoid the full 2-hour clip,
Yeah.
at least bringing it up. But in this clip, there's very little receptivity towards the man's perspective.
Right. 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 Because it's nicely combative.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's move forward.
For 10 years so that we can get a child on his feet that says, yeah, father smiled at mother. He talked to me about school today. Who cares that you can read or can't read? Most Americans can't read. Most people can't read. They look at the pictures.
Baby, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying, and I don't disagree. But no, I'm going to be honest and think about it really. I'm not so sure that that is a human possibility. If I have to smile all day, and the cat on the job, the foreman, you don't understand why I'm smiling. Not because I want to smile, I'm smiling because that baby needs new shoes. I can't give a performance all day on the job and come home and give a performance all night in the house.
Okay, so one of the performances will stop.
Yes. So you say, and okay, I might be willing to go with it, but who's going to pay the rent?
You're back to that again. The rent will get paid.
Look, baby, I'm willing to play it your way, but you have to see my point of view.
I see your point of view.
So thinking in modern terms, all right, because like and then taking the scenario that they have, she's saying either fake it both places or don't fake it both places. So like he's saying, all right, I go to my job and I don't fake it or whatever, and I end up losing my job. And I'm the sole provider. I'm the person who's supposed to be providing the money and taking care of the household. Like I said, my baby needs some shoes. I have to go. I have to go to work and smile, or I have to at least go to work and be passive aggressive or something. Put on the act at work to be able to pay for my household, take care of my household. If I can't put on that performance, or if I or it just if I lose my job, I can't provide for the household. Now think about modern terms, and she's saying the rent will be paid. So the man's mind is going to go to how, but also in modern terms, let's just be honest. The clock for the man, the clock has started. And what I mean by that is you have a certain amount of time to be able to provide again, or you are out of there. In modern times, the clock has started. But I'm more so on this part. I'm more so with James Baldwin than her, because just from a practical and a logical standpoint, you're telling me the rent will be paid. And I have to ask, well, how? And you can't tell me just believe. You can't, that's not just believing doesn't get the bills paid. So the question is, how will the bills get paid if I'm the sole provider and I cannot provide? And if you're not aiding in this provision, how will this be provided for? And you can't just say it's gonna be paid, because now you're trying to, and I get what she's doing. You're trying to motivate me. You're trying to get it going, but you need just like motivational speakers. Okay, after you motivate me, I still have to have the resources and the wherewithal to make it happen.
Well, I disagree with one of the things, and this is to be expected. We're both men, so we're going to lean more towards the thinking of the man in this situation,
because we understand it better.
Right. And I want to say that, in case anybody's like, oh, they just,
Yeah, that's
woman
why
bash,
I
blah blah
wish we
blah.
could. I wish we could find a woman to, but we
Um,
couldn't find one.
but one thing she did say was, let's hold it together, fake it for 10 years, so that we can say, so that the kids can say, Daddy smiled at mom.
Yeah,
I've been that kid, and I know a lot of those kids now. Kids are not that gullible and stupid.
no, they're
They
not.
can sense the emotions and the energies in the house just like adults can. They know when mommy and daddy ain't vibing, even if mommy and daddy are smiling at each other. So if there's an issue, it's better to take care of the issue than to pretend like there
Yes,
isn't.
yes.
So the other thing she said though was, and this is something that, every time this video makes its way around, this particular section of this video makes its way around, where everybody's like, when she said the bills will get paid, the rent will get paid, that's so powerful. And for me, it's kind of like, all right, I agree with you about motivation. Maybe she is trying to motivate him. But there's another M word that came to my mind, and this is where you call me fucked up if you want. But I started thinking manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's me thinking about it in the modern times. Not saying that this was what was happening back then, but in the modern times, the task, the drive is always to get you to do what I want you to do. And that's not just women, that's men and women. But there's positive and there's negative manipulation. If I'm manipulating you into a situation that's going to be a benefit to you, then we'll all agree that that's positive manipulation. That's parents dealing with their children, go to school. If I'm manipulating you to put you in a position that's going to be more detrimental to you and me, that's negative manipulation.
Yeah,
And so, from the logical standpoint, okay, you want me to lose my job so that I have the energy to be nice to you around the house. How are we going to deal with the loss in income? Don't
but
worry about it.
in
That
today's,
Go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, in that scenario, that's not positive manipulation. So that's not motivation.
So that's not realistic in today's time, in my opinion. That's that's going to cause more strife in the house. That's going to cause more fighting and things, because you are no longer doing what the man is supposed to do, which is provide. Yes, you are home and you have the nurturing side of you there, and you're doing the other things that Nikki described, which are needed. But once again, the majority of these women this day don't have that mindset. They're not looking for those things. They're looking for the provisions. They're looking for the status that comes with it. And so if I can't provide those things, I'm going to be looked at less than the man, probably even emasculated, depending on the woman that I chose. But once again, that clock has started.
Oh yeah.
In
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
2022, and I do want to one correction. This conversation happened in 1971 and not 1973. So
Right.
I know y'all in the comments. It's 1970. My bad, 1971. Okay,
No,
but
no, I agree with you. And that's again, we've been friends for a long time. I've been in that situation.
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
clock starts ticking.
You got you, because it's like they have an idea of what you're supposed to be, and when you don't meet that idea, you're on the clock.
Yeah, and that's where we get into the thing. And this is why conversations like this need to be had by everybody, men and women, especially men and women in relationships. Um, because one of the things that I've learned is that everything is all theoretical until you're actually put in that situation. I can't
Yeah.
tell you how many women I've met that have said, as long as my man is still doing what needs to be done as far as being a man in the house, I don't mind if he's not working. And then they run into a man who's not working, and you watch all of that fall apart.
Yep. That the
And I've
practicality of
seen
it
the
ain't there.
same thing. Yeah, I've seen the same thing with men, where you say, I just want a woman that do this, because it's not one-sided. I
Yep.
say, I want a woman that just do this, and this, and then you get a woman, and that's all she does. And you start to see this man start to, "But what about this? What about this?" No, you said you wanted her to
Yeah.
do three things. She
Yeah.
does three things.
But we're in unrealistic times right now from both
Right.
sides. We're in very unrealistic times, and the resolution that they're trying to get to, I'm gonna keep saying it, I gotta keep saying it. The resolution that they're trying to get to ain't the modern resolution, isn't the most common modern resolution that they're trying to get to. Because once again, foundation versus frivolousness. So it's you can't overlook that. You can't overlook that, but at the same time, it's basically, if we want to do better, like, because I like the conversation, like we saying, we like the conversation for what they're saying, and because it sparks other conversations and it sparks critical thinking. But we have to take this from an active listening standpoint, listen to it, understand it, then start talking about it. Because it if we don't really, because we got to be more intentional about our relationships, right? Not modern days. We got to be more intentional about our relationships. We have to be more practical and realistic and forward thinking about the people that we choose to be in our lives. Why? Okay, you're attracted to that person. Is that person good for you? If that person ain't good for you and you messing with them, if you're having unprotected sex with that person, whether you're a man or a woman, you could potentially be partnered up or paired with somebody that you don't particularly want to be with long term, or somebody that you don't see as a suitable mate. I do HIV testing. All right. I have conversations with people that the average person don't have conversations with. I know people's sex life and people's sexual habits. I've been doing it for 13 years. Right. I can't tell you the countless times I'm talking to people who they're having unprotected sex with somebody that they can't see themselves with 2 weeks from now. and they can't tell you why they're doing it other than it just feels good. Well, you are not being realistic about life. And I feel like with black people, it's almost like we just out here just playing around with our futures. If we're being real, when it comes to these relationships and things, we're playing around with our futures, and it's things are so out of whack and unrealistic now. It's just whoever is the it celebrity come on and just say something, because you got these celebrities and these influencers and these people now, especially with social media, who are helping to shape the mindsets of these young people. So you got a lot of these young people believing all this dumb stuff that these people are really saying, that they not even living, that they don't even really believe, but it sounds good and it's catchy and it's profitable to them, and it's aiding into the degeneration of our community, of just black people, period. You got to have foundation. You got to have foundation. We have to be more intentional about our relationships. Stop just hooking up just to hook up. Hookup culture is not good for Black America.
Well, I think one of the problems here is the dream. As she said, we got to have hopes, we got to have dreams. It's a lack of balance. The dreams have overtaken the reality. And in the world where everybody's talking about, I got to be real, I got to be real, I got to be real,
Nobody's
very few
being
people
real.
are actually being real, right?
Right.
And I like, this is where I go back to the balance that's needed between masculine and feminine. The abundance mentality that a lot of women seem to have, paired up with the scarcity mentality that a lot of men have.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be able to offset each other. Just as much as she's saying we have to dream. And I know a lot of women that feel like they want their man to sell them a dream. Yeah, it's not going good, but I want you to make me feel like it's going great. And I get that. That's, that's where you're at. That's the dream, the hope, the belief, the abundance. But as a man, you also have to respect that that's not where I'm at.
Right.
And I think that's the part that's missing, right? Like, and so we go into celebrity gossip. Everybody wants to be a celebrity. Everybody
Yep.
wants to that's the whole thing with following them and the paparazzi. All of that is to get caught up in this lifestyle. Social media now has become a place where you can escape the real world and
Mm-hmm.
live in the dream of whatever you want to be. And all of that has kind of devalued truth, which is
Yeah.
why now there's an
Yeah.
active assault on truth and those that tell the truth. Not and then even when you bump into people that tell the truth, they found a way to dismiss that. Well, that's your truth. Well, true
Right.
enough. We all
Right.
have perspectives, but there's
Right.
an objective truth.
Right. Right. And we're trying our hardest to escape that objective truth, that reality. That's what people are trying to escape, because I hear what she's saying. I hear what she's saying, but I can't sell you something that I don't believe in. But at the same time, we should be working to a happy resolution, though. If I'm on this side where I can't sell you something that I don't believe in, and you're on the side where you want me to sell you something that neither one of us believe in, can we find a happy medium? Because if we don't find a happy medium, we're gonna be at odds. We're gonna continue to be at odds, and that's not the goal. Is to be at odds. The goal for this isn't for either side to win. The goal is for the whole to thrive.
I think in the modern in this time, what has to happen is, if a woman wants to be sold the dream, tell the man what your vision is, right?
Yeah.
Tell him what you want to happen. And then work with him on figuring out the real steps needed to be taken to get there.
Right. Right.
I
Because that's
think
how we
that's the
think.
part that's the part. Again, one of the things that I think is happening, and yes, it might just be because I'm a man, but I feel like masculinity and masculine perspectives are being devalued. Um, and so we got to get to a space where it's like, all right, baby, look, I can appreciate you have this vision. And most women I know, true to form, most of them have a vision, a grand vision or a dream. They see it. They have trouble with the steps, but they see the plan.
That's where we
That's what
collaborate.
that's where the man, that's what the man is for.
That's collaboration. But once again, we have to be working to come to a happy meeting. We have to have a resolution. We can't just be like, well, this is my idea, so my idea has to work, or this is my idea, and you have to follow me. No, we have to find that resolution. If we don't find that, once again, we're going to be combative the whole time.
And let me say this, that's not to say that men don't have vision, because they do. But men tend to have professional visions and visions of a different sort than women have. So that's what I'm getting
We look
at.
for solutions.
Because I don't want nobody to be like, well, men have visions. Look at all the visionary men out there. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the rent will have to get paid.
The price of the rent is my smile.
No. I don't want you prostituting yourself. I demand.
I don't want you prostituting yourself either. One of us has got to work.
You will work it out, because you are intelligent enough and you are sensitive enough. You are a man enough to work out a new system, because we started off with everybody's protest now, and we're back there again. As long as the assumptions are the same, nothing will change.
Okay.
So we must corner ourselves to make a new assumption.
Okay, how about it?
In case it was sort of like left up in the air, or somebody, like I didn't get it across. I really think that my father, Jones Giovanni, is a groovy cat, and he's lived with my mother now for 35 years under holy wedlock, and I think that that's good for them. I think that that sort of thing worked for them, and I think that that's the main thing, that they were able to love despite it all.
That's what we were talking about before.
Right, exactly.
And you, by the way, you do not have to tell me that you're your father. I knew that.
Yeah, I think he's a gas.
Yes,
I just don't want to marry him.
So I'm going to discount that whole last little bit about her father and her mother. But what I will say is, again, like from a man's perspective, the way she ended it, you will work it out.
Yeah.
How is that motivational? Like, how is that inspirational? And I'm bringing this up again because, again, I keep having people come to me talking about how motivational and inspirational that part is, and how she believes in him, and how she's all you need is for a woman to look at you and tell you to work it out, like she believes you'll do it. And I think people say that. The only people that I think really say that are the people that have never been in that situation. Because when you find yourself actually in that situation and you don't work it out, it doesn't all work out to the benefit of the household, despite your best efforts. Now you wear 100% of the blame and responsibility, and that can be the termination of what otherwise was a beautiful relationship.
But so going back to the part where she's saying, well, he said my smile is based, and I'm paraphrasing.
The cost of the rent.
Yeah, the cost of the rent and the food on the table. And she's saying, I don't want you to prostitute yourself. And his counter is, well, hell, I don't want you to prostitute yourself. So she's saying, I don't want you to go down there and once again just fake it and be down there and be unhappy and be faking. I'd rather you not have a job and we just figure it out. And he's saying, well, okay, I quit my job. We don't have income. You're telling me I'm going to figure it out. But in the meantime, we got to eat. So are you going to go sell your body for food? I don't want you to do that. You don't want me to do this, and I don't want you to do that. Now, me faking my smile will not be as detrimental as you selling your body. Now, me faking my smile, though, could be something that can help me move to another realm of being able to do what I need to do for myself, doing something on my own. But if I leave my job, I have to hope to get lucky, hope to work something out, hope to be able to build something, hope to be able to find something else. And like going back to what you're saying, I'm going to need more than your motivation. I'm going to need resources. I'm going to need connections. Because in the real world, especially nowadays in 2022, in the real world in 2022, I appreciate your motivation. But I think what would practically work better, and especially in these times, is the man and the woman working together to get back on their feet. Like, we're going to have to work in 2022. If you're in that position, if men and women are building, we're going to have to work together. If the man is not in the position to handle everything the way it may be the ideal way, if the man just having all the provisions and things, and he's not in the position to where he has to fake it to make it on the emotional side or even on the social side. If that man is in a position where, as of right now, he can't provide, both that man and that woman gonna have to do what they need to do to provide for the household in 2022.
Yeah, I think it really starts the dismissing, right? Like for me, for him to say the cost of the rent is my smile, and for her to say, I don't want you to prostitute yourself. I get that. But earlier you demanded that I be a man. And me selling my smile to put food on the table is part of what that means.
Right.
So,
Sacrifice.
right. So I get it and I love it and I respect it. Just like I get the fact that you don't feel like you should have to bear the brunt of my frustrations.
Right.
And you're right. Like, and I think anybody in that situation, a woman should not have to bear the brunt of a man's frustrations, especially if she's not the cause of them.
Right.
Now, we can also say give that man time to de-stress, decompose in a little bit before you interact with him, especially if you know his job is hell. But those are conversations you have before y'all get in that serious space. And once if y'all get there after the fact, you still have those conversations to feel a better way forward. Go ahead.
But that's also about being intentional and being present and observant and actually caring about your partner too, though. The actual care, like, and having the wherewithal and not having these modern mindsets of I'm the prize, it's all about me, all the attention should be on me. Going back to one of the videos I was watching earlier, the lady was like, I have to be the most important thing in this man's life. And Nikki Giovanni mentioned the man's ego earlier in the clip. So I'm mentioning the woman's ego now, based off of what I just said of what we're talking about now, because I'm looking out for you, but you got to look out for me too. It's not all about one person in the relationship. Like the Black community has to get away from the idea of somebody's the prize. That's not good for us.
Right.
That's tearing us further apart than anything. So we got to get away from being the prize. We both are participants in this relationship, in this thing that we signed up for to make work. Solutions, being participant, being intentional, having the mindset of I'm going to me and this person are get together, me and this other adult are getting together to build something meaningful and something productive that can actually contribute to society, rather than I just like that person or I just want to have sex with that person. And we in this, well, you have sex with me the best, or you look the best, or I like you the best, so I'm just going to tolerate you. I'm going to say this, and I'm not oblivious of reality. But we cannot continue to be in spaces to where we are just tolerating each other. Because it seems like that's where we are. We're just tolerating each other. And we have to get to a point where, okay, I'm with you because we are building. I feel like you and I, or it's better than I feel like, through our evaluation of each other, we've determined that we're compatible enough and we both have the will and the wherewithal to build something meaningful. That's what it should be.
I think I agree with you. I don't think, and I've said as much before, I don't think there should be a person that's the prize.
Yeah.
If there is going to be a prize in a relationship, it has to be the relationship.
Right.
The relationship itself, something that both of you work towards, right? both of you sacrifice for. You know, both of you are willing to put other things on the line to grow and make better. And that requires a level of selflessness that is
Right.
in short supply on both sides in modern society.
Right. 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 But just going back to what we were initially talking about, even before we recorded, um, even in the conversation is just, and we said it before, just say it again. Just the main things, just the differences though, in the objective, the end goal for what she was asking for and what is being asked for today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do think the quality of, I just think overall the quality of black people has been reduced. We don't give a damn no more the way we used to. We don't give a damn about ourselves. We don't give a damn about our communities. We don't give a damn about progressing. We're stuck in these places. And if I feel comfortable in this place, I'm not going to move from this place. We're
Mm-hmm.
stuck in these places. And we have to do better. That's another reason why we're doing these breakdowns, so we can just think outside the box and start to put stuff into action. Once again, start in your immediate circle, start in your immediate areas. But I do think the dynamic between black men and black women, whether it's in a romantic relationship or any other type of relationship, it has to be repaired. We're not enemies. We are we're two teammates we're teammates on the same team who we're not going to win this game because everybody want to be the star and everybody want to hold the ball and everybody I'm more of a victim than you and you more of a victim and all these things. We're just not on the same page, and as long as we're not on the same page, the degrading of our just us as a whole will continue to happen. So, and one more thing too. Today we're even more dependent upon the system today than we were in the past
Mm-hmm.
as well. So the idea of that man having to be a man and competing with the system, it's going to be difficult because now both men and women, black people are more dependent on this American system, not just government, but American system, just America, period, just the government. What I said, not the government, but just the corporations and the things that are produced from white America. We're 100% dependent upon them. And because we're 100% dependent upon them, it's going to be a lot more difficult for us to have the autonomy and the freeness that Nikki Giovanni was talking about. Because talking about today, making it relevant, black people had more of a sense of a community in 1971 than we do in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Yeah. So with that being said, though, this is how we do it, man. Breakdown Friday. We got to get it in. We got to have these conversations. Check out the whole video, the whole conversation between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin. Remember to check out and support and watch my video that I dropped on Monday. I'm not breaking down. We're reading and reviewing The Chasm, Patrick's book, The Chasm. And this is the start of a series where I got all these books behind me, a whole bunch more books. We're gonna be reading and reviewing these books, and we're gonna take a deep dive and learn more about the master teachers and the people who come before us, so we can make sure we really understand this information. It's gonna really help out, and we get to read more, inspiring more black people to read, and we're gonna learn more. So let's get into it. You got any closing remarks, my brother?
Remarks closed.
Remarks closed. Joseph Ward, Patrick Irvin, Breakdown Friday. We up out of here. Love y'all. Make sure y'all catch this next video coming up.